Ready?
Oh, wait.
Yeah, you're ready.
Welcome to Autism, the show that's always unique and unique, totally interesting, and sometimes mysterious.
Good job, buddy. Good job. Indeed,
right.
It's time for Autism on the EiE Network, isn't it, Aimee?
It sure is. We're ready.
Oh, yeah. And tonight we've got challenging behaviors, which is a very wide topic. So what we're going to do is we're going to do challenging behaviors tonight and things you can do about them next time. Because to cram it all into one would just do it a disservice.
That's right. It certainly would. We wouldn't be able to cover everything that would come under that. So,
No.
yeah.
Not any way at all. So we should say, a big thanks for everybody coming and whatnot. And I hope we pass along some good info. Oh, and I hope we have, and all kinds of other stuff like that. So how about we take a walk over to that classroom and we'll see what we've got in store for this evening.
That's right.
Oh, look. Challenging behaviors. Shock of the week.
Exactly.
Do you want to start us off then, Aimee?
Sure.
All right.
Part 1.
We've got
Perfect.
challenging behaviors, part 1. How are challenging behaviors classified? Challenging behaviors are classified as those that are harmful to others, those that are destructive, prevent access to learning and community, cause others to label or isolate. And before I stop, we have a super chat. Jessica Skeptic for $2. More like Jessica Septiceye. Jessica Skeptic for $2 said Super Chat Matt for $2 said Jessica Skeptic for $2 says Super Chat Matt for $2 says stop. I'm fake. Stop. I'm real. Stop.
Thank you very much.
Sold that one with a big price tag. That was
That's
good.
right. You sure did.
All right. So should we go over it?
If you want to, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are they classified? You want to take us through that then, Aimee?
Sure. Like we said, there are, ones that could be harmful, self-harmful. Like sometimes autistic kids will hit themselves or scratch or bite themselves. Some even bang their heads at times. And of course, harm to others is pretty much self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're like little tornadoes and they like to destroy things sometimes. Yes, he goes.
Yeah, we found as Felix got older, we got less and less of the harmful to self behaviors, like things that maybe shouldn't be. He'd get, if he got frustrated, you get your average kid, they might do the kicking and screaming on the ground thing. Well, a kid like Felix might be more prone to banging his head while doing it, and it can just be that much worse.
Exactly. And that's what we got a lot too. And sometimes Matt, one time when he was, didn't happen often, but when he was younger, sometimes he'd bite himself, and when he'd get frustrated, it's just, we've said it before. A lot of these are born of frustration. So as he gets older, I notice the frustration gets less and less as he's be able to interact more. So that's going to be a running theme too.
Yeah, very much, very much. I also found when it comes to the frustrations that interaction with peers and getting the kids to see the other kids and how they deal with those moments can be quite eye-opening.
It is, and it can be helpful because they do learn by example, and that's one of the things too that's helped him. He sees how the teachers interact with his fellow classmates especially when school is in full session. He can see that. Right now it's a little difficult, but and it does prevent access to learning because they have to be separated from the classrooms and they have to be taken out of the community because you don't want other people to get hurt.
That's right.
And it does cause some isolation too, and that kind of goes along with the preventing access to everything. So,
and the destructive side, in grade 6, my son, in a moment of severe frustration with a substitute new helper who didn't know him well enough and didn't know how to work with him well enough, he grabbed a laptop and fired it across the room.
Yep, that's this one.
You know, and it didn't matter if there was somebody standing there. It was going in whatever direction he'd choose to throw it. So, you know, very much he had to be, because he was getting a bit aggressive for a couple of months there. He had to be not with the other kids so much. And there comes that isolation again.
Yes, exactly. And that's what's happened a few times. Middle school was a little bit difficult, especially the beginning of that last year of it, because there was some other things going on like puberty.
Yeah. That's a huge one. I mean, that's 2 episodes in its own right there.
Oh, yes, it is. So far we're weathering it pretty good, but as he gets older, it does get easier. That's one thing that we do say, because maturity comes along with that. And if you keep working with him consistently, it does help. And that's the next week's episode. Sorry.
Yeah. And then the label part, I mean, it only takes, I mean, we're in the age of social media and whatnot. So everybody knows that all it takes is one thing and boom. So, you know, the label comes in really easy if somebody that doesn't really know sees one bad moment and goes, oh, there we go.
Absolutely. A lot of that is born from, not knowing the situation, ignorance of the situation. That happens quite frequently on social media. And it does, and it can happen out in the community too. People look and go, "Ooh, you're not taking care of your kid well enough." And again, they're only seeing a snapshot.
Right.
So it's best to always just, and it's not helpful.
No,
and so
exactly.
A lot of times, and a lot of the times it does cause people to self-isolate, because it's so difficult if you're having an issue with, sometimes behaviors can go on for a while, and it's something that you have to stop and you have to deal with it. And it can be self-isolating too, because you can't go out in public when your child is already in a meltdown or whatever. So that's something that happens a lot too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that panel's pretty much covered. I'll get us to the next one here. Why is autism associated with aggressive and challenging behaviors? Autism itself does not cause challenging behaviors. It is likely that some of the underlying biological processes that result in autism might also result in behaviors that are outside of the person's control. And I think we should carry to the next one here on this. Oh, no, it isn't a carryover. Sorry. Oops, I'm going back because we'll pause right there. The little preview I have on the side, I didn't set the window up where I can read it enough. And it's just a little bit where I can't quite foresee what's coming. I've lost my Jedi mojo.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, but you live and learn, right? But so and this is a big point though. This is really important because there's no direct correlation. And I mean, in our scene and YouTube and whatnot, we all know about peer review and whatnot. So there's nothing that directly links it, and it very well could be that it takes a combination of 5 to get the outcome, and they just happen to, be in line with each other. But it does, there is a stigma over it. Anybody who seems like they're somewhat deep, quote unquote, in autism, can usually be seen by the outsider who's unsure as, ooh, but will that child get aggressive? I've seen that with my son a few times. And, my son is careful not to step on insects. So,
Right. I know. And that we get that a lot too. It's like, is he going to hit me? No, not unless you act really stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Right. He may want to.
Yeah, exactly. We should never say that because that's kind of it's because you do get frustrated and it's understandable. But yeah, no, he's especially when he's laughing and playing, you can tell that it's not something that occurs all the time. So that's hard too because it's autism isn't just his behavior. It's a whole host of other things too.
That's right. Yeah, it's not just the end result. It actually isn't. It's why we have the end result.
Yes, exactly. And autism doesn't equal aggression. It's just, it can be one of the symptoms. And most of the time you can tell a lot of people don't even notice when we're out shopping and stuff like that. He loves to go grocery shopping with me. So when we're out and about, they can't.
Let's go grocery shopping.
Yeah, they can't really tell. I mean, because we're doing our thing. We're busy. He's picking out, helping me pick out stuff, and I keep him busy, so you don't even notice.
Yeah, it's the same with us. He loves to go shopping and whatnot, and he always reads the person's name tag and says, "Oh, hi, so and so," and whatnot. It's very funny. It's very good.
That's great, though.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, he looks for name tags. He likes employees because they have them, and it just makes life easier, because Felix knows he's not supposed to go, "Hey, kid." From Charlie Brown for a while, all he used to say is, "Hey, kid."
No. And that's good that he's using a tool and a strategy to communicate with that person. He's focusing on something and saying their name. That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, I agree there for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, look at that. There's a weird mouse on the screen that shouldn't be there. Wonder what Windows thinks it's doing. Everything's on virtual desktops. That should never happen. But what are you going to do? You want to take the next one then?
Sure.
All right.
You want to take the next one, honey?
Why is autism
associated
with aggressive and challenging behaviors? Continued. Some responses are simply reflexes. No more of a choice for a person that when your leg jerks up when the doctor uses his hammer on your kneecap.
That's right. Just like that. Don't hit the microphone, dear. That's right. Yeah, and that's something that we'll notice too. Mostly noticed like when they were toddlers, and neurotypical toddlers would do the same thing. Some of them will just dart right off if something's bugging them because they don't know how to quite handle that yet. They're learning too. So the fight or flight response, like if something's bugging them and a toddler just books it, and those little legs can pump really fast. I know someone who did. He was fast. That's a fight or flight response, and he's taking the flight. So in one sense, that's good because it's not aggressive, but in another sense, it's bad because they can get hurt. But it's that's a reflex, definitely.
Yes, very much so, absolutely. And there's quite a few reflexes when it comes to the spectrum and whatnot. It really depends on where they fall on it. You can have a complete turtle, you can have a runaway, you can have a lash out. There's a lot.
Yes, and it's situation dependent too.
And that's why they don't call it challenging for nothing.
Right.
Factard was just doing a weather thing. I don't know, Factard. My world is a European country away from what Calgary gets. Oh yeah, no, I'm like Mediterranean here. So yeah, no snow for me for a while yet. But should we go to the next one then?
Yes, please.
All right. How about, do you want to read one, or is Matt going to steal it on you?
You want to steal this one?
Why is autism associated with aggressive and challenging behaviors? Continued. The core features of autism are areas in which difficulties can lead to feelings of frustration, confusion, anxiety, or lack of control, resulting in behavioral responses.
That's right. Good job. Good work, honey.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yeah, and being in touch with your feelings and how to deal with them and react to them and whatnot, especially some of the more complicated emotions human beings go through, is an area of mystery and confusion and whatnot to most people on the spectrum. So that in itself leads to all kinds of, the reactionary behavior within or that surrounds the spectrum. We'll do it like an onion with layers, like a star with the different layers of what it produces as it does its thing in space. But you would have the reactions as an outer layer, and it would have to be a big, thick layer because there's a lot of them, and because a lot of it comes from emotion.
It does. And like we said earlier, one of those big ones is frustration. And if something is confusing as well, they can all tie together, and one can lead to another. Like a lot of the times with him, confusion can turn to anxiety because it's that fear of the unknown. It's if something's confusing, it can be kind of scary to kids on the spectrum. So they or adults too, of course. So it's that it can lead to right into each other, and it's like a big snowball sometimes.
Very much. Like with my son, let's say he's up in his room and he's on his computer and he's editing a little nature documentary video that he likes to make. And something on the computer is not working right. Instead of him being, calm and cool and going, oh, better save it and restart, things aren't working, he'll get an escalation, some frustration, and then anxiety will kick in. And I have to be very much listening, even if I'm not in the room, for the audible cues to make sure I get in there and head it off at the pass.
Same here. That's the exact same thing we have too. He doesn't have that. We're trying and we're working on it, but sometimes he doesn't have that self-soothing mechanism yet, or that I can step back and go, oh, okay, something's wrong here. I think I know what to do, or I know to ask for help, and just say, oh, I'm stuck. It just kind of starts escalating from there, and kind of,
he doesn't have that trigger inside like your average person does, where they just go to a chocolate cake and eat half of it or whatever, and go on that sugar based emotional ride that takes you away from it, or however that works. I'm not really sure, but they succumb quick.
They do, very quickly, and it can happen in an instant, and that's another thing too. It can be sustained too. We've had that issue before, and it happened late spring, early summer, and it kind of culminated into like the sheriff's office coming, because it's not something that they can let go. A lot of the times, at the more extreme ends of some of these frustrations and the challenging behaviors, it can last for anywhere from a couple hours to a few days. And and so you have to concentrate on focusing on helping them with that. And it's something that's difficult. It's most of the time we can get it pretty much cut off at the pass now, but sometimes we can't.
Exactly. You can't win them all. I've said it lots. Right. I have said it lots. So next one here. Why is autism associated with aggressive and challenging behaviors? Continued. Challenging behaviors are more likely to appear when a person is feeling unhappy or unhealthy. So again, the tie-in is right back to the emotional and the physical, and maybe just even something like being hungry, but just not saying I want to eat something just because they don't say it can lead you into a really bad situation. Think like hypoglycemia extreme.
Yes. And that whole thing, and there's even a commercial about it. You're not yourself when you're hungry. That is very true. And that's supposedly for neurotypical people. So
there you go. Right.
So exactly. And sometimes, and there are different levels of hungry. So a lot of kids don't recognize it. And a lot of the times there are no gray areas with children and adults on the spectrum. It's either you are or you're not. So when they when they're starting to get hungry, sometimes can also set that off because they don't quite recognize what they're feeling quite yet, because it's not whammo, I'm really hungry or something like that. So that's something to watch out for too, huh?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I think we got that one good. You guys want to take it?
Sure. You want to take this one?
Why is autism associated with aggressive and challenging behaviors? Continued. Medical concerns, mental health issues, or sensory responses might bring pain or discomfort for a person with autism that we might not understand.
That's right, huh? Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. Yeah,
Discomfort especially, right? Discomfort especially because sensory stuff is huge with people on the spectrum.
Oh, big time. It really is. It's huge. Discomfort and a lot of like sensory overload, like sensory processing disorders, which go along with autism. We have a lot of sensory issues here. And so that can cause challenging behaviors too, because it's really uncomfortable for them when they're going through that. And it can go back to the confusion and the fear as to what they're feeling because they're dealing with those sensory issues. So there's that as well. So,
and if you've got negative sensory issues coming at you and you find yourself in a situation where there's a bit of an escalation because of, an external thing that's triggering you or something, you're definitely not going to end up in a good spot. Yeah, all those little things have to be very much managed to make sure that there's no unnecessary triggers.
Exactly. So that's something that has to be looked over too, huh? Right? He says.
All right. So why is autism associated with aggressive and challenging behaviors? Continued. How we respond to their actions can have a significant effect on what they do the next time they are in a similar situation. And that is very much like the whole thing when a toddler falls. If you look with like a shock, like, oh my gosh, are you okay? The kid cries. But if you just look over and go, uh-oh, then the kid just gets up and walks away.
Yes, they can do. They do. And so if you don't make a big deal out of it, it does make it easier. They learn that it's not such a big deal. And they do learn by example too.
Oh, yeah. And to prove it is when you get a milestone or a good moment and you really upsell it and go, yeah, that's great. Right on. You see the response to that as well. So those are hand in hand, just opposite pretty much, right?
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, it can be negative and it can be positive, and we do want the more positive ones.
Yes. I'll agree there, too, for sure. Yes. Okay. Let's see here. Your guys' turn.
Okay. Thank you.
Research on aggression in autism. There is a much higher rate of aggression towards caregivers in autism than in the general population and in others with intellectual disabilities.
That's right.
It's definitely not an easy career, but rewarding. Wow.
Right. And it's same with being a parent of a child with autism, because we're caregivers too. Even though it's not an actual job that we've taken.
That's right.
As parents, we do. That's just being a parent. But and that's true, huh? Because that's who they're with most of the time. So obviously that's kind of like a given. The more time you spend with someone, the more you're going to see certain things. So
yeah. It's like that old adage, you take it out on family because they're the ones you know the best and the most likely to forgive you, or, that's a big paraphrase, but you know what I'm getting at, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But, and I think that would hold true in a lot of places. But when you've got the autism spectrum, frustrations and whatnot can trigger fast, big responses. So you can't just say, oh, well, caregivers got to try harder, because I mean, every kid's different on the spectrum, but it just really shows that, if you're doing this, you've got to really make sure that, it's always on your mind. Like one of those bad days where you wake up and everything's wrong and the coffee pot breaks and, the car doesn't start and the cabbie rips you off. I mean, it's still like, it's tough. It's tough. Oh yeah. Bad days suck. Yeah. They make it really hard, but you still got to do it.
Exactly. And everybody goes through them, but but they end. And that's one thing I try to remember too. If we ever have a difficult day or something, they do end. It doesn't last forever. So that's always a sign of hope.
Exactly. Let's see here. And the research on aggression and autism continued. Unlike the risk factors in the typical population, aggression was equally common in girls as boys with autism. And that nails down that you can't just say, oh, well, boys or whatever. Like you definitely have it within the spectrum.
Absolutely. It's definitely something that will occur with it because of the biological processes. And that is it right there. Gender has nothing to do with it.
Exactly. Poor girl that lives up the road from me had a hip replacement done like a year and a half ago. Her daughter's 7 or 8 years old with autism and very, very active. Like, oh, I'm going to run away from you and whatnot. So there's a few of us in our little neighborhood who know her and know them and whatnot. And you're always on the lookout when you see her around. Where's mom? Where's the parent here? And we're always checking just to be sure,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You got to,
You do. Mm-hmm. It takes a village, whether the kids are neurotypical or not. I mean, it's just
Exactly. Oh, yes, exactly. Oh, did I just see? Oh, well, it's not on my side. There's nothing dropped. Okay. I just thought I saw buffering. I've had a weird thing with my internet in the last couple of days where every now and then, just out of the blue, it goes super slow. And we have fiber. So it's just not acceptable. Oh, no. I'm going to have to get this sorted.
That's weird.
It shouldn't be. And on my side, everything seems fine. So if anything, it's YouTube. But okay. Anyway, here we go. Next one. Here we go.
Sure. You want to take this one, honey?
Research on aggression and autism continued. Age is a risk factor with higher levels occurring at younger ages, which may suggest that learning and growth may help behaviors improve.
That's right.
Excuse me.
Certainly. Good job. Right away. Yeah, and that's true. Yeah, sorry, I had to praise him for a minute because there's that praising again.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's like with any kiddo that as they get older, they mature and it is easier and they've had that time to learn and grow, and it does help. It really does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You've been doing pretty good so far, huh? Mm-hmm. So, and it does. It takes time. Yeah. They do get older and mature, and he's doing so much better. And we haven't had any issues at school at all this year, and we're already more than a month in. So yes,
nice. That's really good. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. And it's true on our side, too. As Felix gets a few years more and more under his belt, these things are a lot easier to deal with. He doesn't lash out in as aggressive as a way as he used to. Like, I don't have this kid going crazy on his bed for 30 minutes over something that was nothing. Now it's just, oh, well. And so we're getting there. But, it's still going to be uphill for a while.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to have our up and down moments too, of course. And it happens, huh?
Yeah.
But we just work through it, right?
That's right. Nobody's perfect.
Exactly.
All right. Here we go. So research continued. Those at highest risks exhibited 1. More repetitive behaviors or extreme resistance to change, and 2. More severe autistic social impairment. And I can clearly say that when my son was definitely those big time, he had more of the aggressive lash out traits in him. And as those became less and less what his reality was about, the aggression did dial down, hand in hand.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And same here. There was a time when he was in elementary school that was when he did more of these repetitive behaviors and things like that, and really had a hard time socializing. That's when he was more aggressive. And like you said, as time went on and he learned, how to, and those repetitive behaviors went down and he became more social, a lot of the aggression has subsided, and that's and so it definitely goes hand in hand.
Yeah, I agree totally. And I really think that one of the big things was the ability to communicate what's inside better to those around instead of feeling trapped inside and not being able to, share it and out it and vocalize it. I think that was huge as my son got more and more to be able to have like a 3 and 4 sentence conversation with you instead of just repeating one sentence over and over and laughing, right?
Right, exactly. And same here. And him finally being able to say, "Oh, this is what I'm feeling."
Yeah.
Being able to communicate how they feel is such a relief for them, and does release a lot of frustration. So it's a lot less frustrating to be able to say, "Hey, I'm hungry," or "Hey, I'm upset," right? Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
He agrees.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Here, your guys' turn.
Okay, you ready?
What is helpful to know about behavior? What is helpful to know about behavior? Some behavior is biologically driven, eat when hungry, reflexive, covering ears with loud noise, form of communication, sensory issues.
That's right. That's
Good
true,
job,
isn't
buddy.
it?
Yes.
Great job. Good reading too. Yeah, and that is true. That's
Yeah.
and it is a form of communication. You can tell it's it's basically body language.
Yeah.
So yep, and like the sensory issues, if something is too loud, their hands go to their ears, it's easy to see, what's going on, huh?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I can always tell. If Felix is, working on a puzzle or sitting at his computer or, on the couch watching a video or something, as soon as I see him starting to get fidgety where he can't just be comfortable, I can pretty much look at my watch and go, oh, okay, yep, lunch is in 30 minutes. It's just that simple, right?
And that's it here too, because we go by a schedule and because of his schooling and everything. So yeah, you can tell when he can concentrate less and he's not really paying attention to the lessons, and oh yeah, maybe I better get him a snack or something.
Yeah.
Get him ready for lunch.
Yeah. There's been a few times when I've had Felix, we're doing homeschool, and I'll say, okay, let's try to get through this lesson. And then when we're finished, Daddy will get lunch already and stuff. But within 5 minutes, I can see that was not the right decision. And I'll be like, you know what, pal, let's just pause for now, because there's no point in wasting an hour on something that should be 15 minutes.
And that's exactly it, because then it stretches it out longer. And then you go into, because they're now really hungry, they're going into, they'll start getting aggressive again. So yeah, it's always just best to pick your battles and say, oh yeah, let's just feed the kid.
Yeah.
You'll feel better, I'll feel better, and there we go.
Absolutely. And okay, let's see here. What is the function of challenging behaviors? In most cases, challenging behaviors are seen as a way to request or communicate a preferred outcome. The goal is to replace the inappropriate request with a more adaptive communication. And this is huge in it because when a lot of the lashing out will be, no, that's not really what I wanted. You guessed wrong. You should know, but none of that comes out, and they just go or whatever. And
Right.
like we were just alluding to there, the ability to really, really communicate properly, not just real frivolous stuff like, hi, how are you today? But, oh, I really don't like that, and I'm not in a good place right now, is massive. And so you'll find, like, if you're working with professionals, behavior therapies and occupationals and so on, a lot of things come down to being able to communicate the basics, your emotions and whatnot, because that is huge to being on the path to avoiding a lot of the things that make life tough with autism.
Absolutely. Communication is key, and we always say that it's everywhere. Communication is the best tool that you can ever have. And for them to be able to communicate, like, hey, Mom, I'm hungry, which I hear usually every 2 hours because he's a teenager. That's gone a long way to alleviate those frustrations because he can get out what he's saying. And it's, yeah.
Yeah, but it's huge, communication. I mean, can you imagine if you just wanted to say to somebody, please just give me some space right now, I'm in a bad mood, and you couldn't, and somebody was just blah, blah, blahing at you, you would go crazy.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And if you can't communicate that and you just have to sit there and well, that's not good.
No, nobody wants that at all. Absolutely not.
Not at all.
Okay. Oh, second last one. The timing of these, it's almost like you think we'd know what we're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, your guys' turn.
Okay, thank you. Should Mama read this one, or do you want to read it?
No.
No.
General functions of behavior.
Hold on. Okay. There you go, honey.
Okay. General functions of behavior. Obtaining a desired object or outcome. Escaping a task or situation. Getting attention. Positive or negative. Stop saying negative. Start saying positive. Trying to self-calm or regulate. Trying to avoid something painful. Gain control of an uncomfortable situation.
Ooh,
excuse me.
Certainly.
Piglet. Piglet.
Yeah. Good job saying excuse me. Yes.
And when you look through this list, you're basically dealing with situations where your communication is not up to par to get the desired result, or at least to try.
Exactly.
I mean, the on the second point, escaping a task or situation, a parent might say, hey, no video games until your homework is done. Well, no matter what whining you do, you're not getting out of it. So, but at least you have the tools to try, right?
Exactly. It's, yeah. And that is very true. And it goes into that whole preferred tasks and the non-preferred tasks, and being able to transition from one or the other. And that's a big thing too. And that's yes.
Yeah.
You go.
There's a lot of self-calm and regulate in transitions. Very much.
Yes, there is. There is. And that's something that's challenging for them to learn too. So but we do get there. He does every once in a while. I'll catch him at it, and I'll have to, we'll stop and go, hey, great job. Right?
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the gain control of an uncomfortable situation. I mean, when you think about that, you could be at a birthday party and you only know a couple of the kids. You don't know them all. Just like if you're at somebody's birthday and you don't know a lot of the adults that are there, but you know a few. I mean, it's you're kind of sitting there looking around, blah blah, little chitter chatter, and so somebody lost on the spectrum. That's a really bad situation. So there's a lot of tools needed to get through that.
Absolutely, there are, and that's something that's harder when these kiddos are on the spectrum, and so that's a difficult one, huh? So that's something we're going to be learning about pretty soon too, is how to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
DBT. Intellectual. No. I'm gonna have to look into that. Is that like the phone screwing up you doing CBD? I would have to look. I'll have to look after the show there for sure. If there's something that I need to know, I definitely want to. Yes, very cool. Okay, I'm gonna look into that. And let's see here. The getting attention. Getting attention, positive or negative. There's a lot of ways that people learn how to get attention in a not good way by getting negative attention. So that applies to a lot of people in life. Oh yeah. But it really applies, if we have house guests over or something and Felix wants to do that thing that kids do, like, they bring in their new toy and show it off to the guest or whatever, that kids do. He's just not good at that. So, it takes a little bit of, encouragement and support and whatnot. But I mean, most kids do that. So, let them do it. Why not? Right.
Absolutely. Huh.
Yeah.
Great. But, we got a super chat. Did you want to read that, honey? Maddie? You got a super chat, baby.
Jessica G string for $2 said, super chat, Matt, give Aimee a wedgie. She'll like it. Stop, mama.
That's awesome.
That's funny.
Thank you. That's great.
I think at that point, would you want to take our ending there, Aimee?
Sure. Did you want to read this last ending, honey?
Thank you so much for watching, Heart. In part 2, we'll be covering how to get help with and how to handle challenging behavior. See you all next week.
That's right.
All right.
Yes, we get to learn how to handle it next, which is going to be which is going to be really interesting too. I'm already digging into it now, so it's going to be good.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I mean, as much as I know about all this and have lived through it and gone through it and whatnot, as we do the research for the topics, there's new stuff coming at us all the time. It's really, really cool.
It really is. And some things have changed. And as our kids get older, like Matt, he's 15, and things when we first started on our journey are different than they are now. And they're better now because we have new things to learn about. So that's a good thing too. It's been an interesting time, and I've learned a whole bunch of new things because basically we're just scratching the surface. If the research out there, it's just it compares to Mount Everest. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And, when it comes to learning and what's coming up, very soon, the presentation stuff, we've only got a few more of these to do. We'll have a pause of a few weeks. We'll get some people that want to join us on the show, guests with their kids, without their kids, whoever, so on and so forth. But we'll be, I guess a series 2, if you want to call it or whatever. But it'll be very interactive, and it'll be a very good second step to where the show can go. So, we hope some of you want to jump in and join us and enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Get in touch with us. We'd be more than happy to have you on.
Absolutely. And I think on that note, we can wrap it up for the night, can't we?
That's right. Thank you so much, everyone. Stay tuned to the space. We've got a whole bunch of great shows coming up. And of course, next week on Autism, we'll have how to handle those challenging behaviors. So that'll be good.
Exactly. So on behalf of everybody here, thanks for joining us, everybody. And let's say goodnight. Good night. Good night. Good night. See you soon, everybody.